Well, how's it going? I'm Mark Duffy, welcome to my channel. On today's episode, I'm going to go through my 4 favorite methods for making selections in Photoshop. Now, I know you're thinking, why would you go for top 4 selection methods and not top 3 or top 5? To be honest, these are really the only 4 I use. So if I had an option for making selections, I actually only had 3 methods before this. There's one extra one I only learned maybe in the last month. So I'm not the best at it at the minute, so go easy on me on the comments. Making selections in Photoshop is possibly one of the most crucial techniques to learn. Although you may not recognize a really good selection in a composition, you will definitely recognize a bad one. So that's where it is. It's kind of like CGI. You never fully notice the really great ones, but you will definitely see the bad ones. So this is going to show you different methods in making selections in Photoshop. And like I said, I'm not the best at some of these and I'm better at other ones. So I'm just going to go through the 4 that I actually prefer to use, and one of them is brand new to me. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this. Okay, for this tutorial, I'm actually just going to use the one photo, this photo here of the Voyager statue in Louth, for obvious reasons. It's such an intricate statue. It's beautiful, but it has its complications, and I think it's a great one to show the different examples of the selection options we have within Photoshop. So without going into great detail as to what I've done with this photo so far with the exposure blending, because that's another tutorial in itself. I do have a tutorial on exposure blending if you are interested. Just click above, I'll leave the link there for you. I've merged all these layers, these active layers, into one just to show a final preview. But if I just hide that one, we're going to be selecting, this is the layer we're going to be selecting here to use to blend and get some highlights into the photo, because without that you'll see it's quite dark. So I have controlled it. If I turn off the sun, you can see where I've actually been controlling the sun with multiple layers as well. Open that up and just give you a wee glance at that there. I do promise to do a new updated video, more intricate, in-depth into editing like this, but for the time being I'm just going to show you how we will select this. So the first option I'm going to show you really is my favorite, and it's the quickest, and for this one it worked beautifully. So press W on the keyboard. I always suggest that you start to learn the shortcuts. Coming over here to the left hand side can be a pain, so we'll go W for the quick selection tool. And now what we want is, I want this whole foreground here, so everything, let's back to V here so we can point this better. So what I'm going to do actually is we're going to change it actually. You know what? I'm not going to use the W yet. We're going to use the marquee tool, and then we'll add in. So we're going to use M on the keyboard, minus that bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select up to the horizon, because I can see the horizon pretty well there. So there is my definite line. Okay. So there is a selection, and you know, if that's what I wanted in, just hit the layer mask and boom, that's visible. Absolutely disgusting, but who am I to judge? But that's not what we want. So what we want then also is we're going to then select the W tool, and there we are going to select all in here. Just select in here, doesn't really matter to great detail at the minute. We will refine this. I'm using the scrolly brackets up and down, so the left scrolly bracket goes down and the right one increases the size of your brush. So it's the same as any kind of brush tool. So just clicking around here. You can zoom in as much as you want. Initially I just like to stay kind of a little bit further away, just so I can kind of have an overall view, and then I will actually inspect closer to it. Sometimes I don't need to. In this case I do. So try and get as much as this as possible, because then that helps the cleanup then a lot better. Photoshop's not going to have to guess as to what you really wanted. So like we want this part of the leg because it's not one of the clouds. What else? We don't want down here, we don't want. So you can see at the minute in the circle has a plus. If you hold the Alt button, you get a minus, and that is going to actually reduce what we selected. Boom. And my marquee tool selection was not very good, so we will come back to that in a second. And the minus is not, so you might have to do this a few times. You know, this is the algorithm, the magical wonders that is algorithms of Photoshop. You thought Instagram was the only one with algorithms. All life is based around algorithms. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Oh, come back here. Now we're finding these, I'm going pretty slow with this, but like, you know, we want this good. We want Photoshop to be doing as least work as possible. That was too much. Now if you go into too much like that there, you can just Control Z. That's grand. So then you come up to the top here and you go select and mask. And when you see this window, don't worry, you don't have to use any of this stuff, because I don't. Very rarely do I. Up at the top, you can change. Now, actually, what I'll do is I'm just going to go Control 0 to full screen this, and then we can go onion skin. I've never used onion skin. I don't actually know what it does. Marching ants. That just shows your selection. That's good at the end, not right now. Not very helpful. So the overlay, whatever is red is being excluded, and whatever is full color is being included. So that really shows you. And if you want to see what I mean, layer masks, again, remember, white reveals, black conceals. So when you see the overlay, that's exactly what it's showing you. It's showing what is being excluded. On black, it's because it's such a bright segment here, it doesn't really make sense to do these. So the best one to use is overlay, and I always use overlay because it just works with nearly every scenario. So then the next thing you need to do is come over here to the left. Usually it is selected at the top one. You want to go to the next one down. This is the refine, and what we're going to do is just paint over, and you just do it absolutely gingerly. Doesn't matter, just go over and it will pick up what, because it's contrast based. So this is a pretty good, this is probably why it works pretty easy. It's contrast based. There's quite a high contrast between the sculpture and the overexposed sky, and it's a good idea as well to shoot under and overexposed for your selections for something like this, because it does make the job for Photoshop a lot easier. So we just go in here, keep going. What's that like? Now you can hear now, because I'm using my mouse, so you can hear the clicks. I haven't actually lifted my mouse yet. This is all one click. So I kind of, the more you do, the more it's going to be feathered and adjusted. So we let go, and look at that. That's magic, isn't it? Now I know there's loads of people out there and they use the polygonal lasso tool, which I'll be showing you, or the pen tool, which I'll show you. But like, I don't think there's any comparison when it works. This is unbelievable. And you can leave it at selection, or you can select it at layer mask, or you can go new layer, or you can go new layer with layer mask. What I might do is I might go with selection, because I like to do an extra step with this. And I'm going to hit OK. So there we have the selection. What I like to do with selection is to go up to select, and then modify, and then come down to contract. I'm going to contract it down by 1 pixel. So that means that it's going to move inwards of 1 pixel. So if I just change that to the grab tool. So if I just undo that again, no, see, so you can see here it's on the edge, but if I change it to contract it, what happens is then if there's any blurring on the edge, or if there's any highlights on the edge, when you contract it in a bit, you won't see that, and it actually gives you a much better looking selection. So it's just a good trick that I would use. And then if I just go up here down to the layer mask, and hey presto, look at that. Now that's not what I would normally do. I wouldn't normally do that for blending exposures. What I usually do is I'm going to undo that. What I have the selection is I actually create a new layer, and I do Shift F5 and I paint it black or whatever. It doesn't matter what color at all, but that is a guide layer. So I can just control click on the thumbnail, and I always have the selection, which means then the reason why I do that is for this highlight, when I go to exposure blend, I'm going to alt click the layer mask to give me a black one. Then I'm going to control click. This is why you need to use your shortcuts here. Control click the thumbnail. Now you have a selection, and then I'm going to go B for brush. I'm going to go Control H to hide the marching ants. I'm going to change my opacity. I'm going to leave it at 30%, and then make sure it's set to white, and then start painting. Boom! Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. And then you have so much control. Now, if I had put that onto that layer, I'd be doing so much messing around trying to get it right, where I could go, say, I'll press 0 for 100% on the burst. So if you use the numbers along your keyboard, and not the number pad above it, I don't know if the number pad actually works. Let's try. Oh, the number pad works too. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, I never knew that. Okay, I'm learning everything. Even I'm learning on my own tutorials. So if we press 0 on the number pad or not, it'll make your brush 100%. So let's say maybe to there. No, not that. Undo that again. Go again. There we go. So I say I want to have that as 100%. Yeah, but then the rest I'll go say 50. Now a lot more refinement is needed, but as a start point, you can't get any quicker really than the quick selection tool. So that's why I'm showing it first. It's my favorite. So if we actually just undo all that now and delete my beautiful work, and I'm going to delete the guide there so I don't have anything to help me. For another selection tool we will use is L for your lasso tools. So you can already see that if you go up here on the left, I already have it selected. You may already have the lasso tool. What we want is the polygonal. If you hold click down, you can select it. Or another trick to do is select L, and then while you have it on L, shift and then press L again, and you can cycle through them. And that's the same with any of them really. And now the thing is with this one, you definitely need to zoom in, and I would say you shouldn't be any further away than 300%. For this one, definitely up to 400%. And I'm going to go in closer again. This one is, when you click, it makes a line. So you have an anchor point, and then you have a line. Then you click again, then you have a new anchor point, and you have a line. So then if you make it small adjustments, you can get good shapes. So this is my next favorite way of actually selecting. So boom, and Control D to deselect that. So we are going to now just select this. So we'll start from here, boom, and you just click, move a little bit, click, move a little bit, click, and that's it really. Just really and truly repetitive. Now this takes a bit of concentration, and you can see I'm just going along the lines. I'm kind of looking at the bright points along here. It can kind of get annoying when you are actually zoomed in this much. It's quite tasking, and you can't do anything else once you're locked into here. Until you finish your selection, you can't do anything else. There's nothing else you can do. So and how you do that is you either bring it right back to the starting point where you'll see a little 0, or say you're like there, and there, and say you have a straight line to it, you can just from here double click and it brings a straight line. So we'll just undo that, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly go around this. So by magic of video editing, I'm going to speed up this footage so you don't have to watch the whole lot, but I'm going to have to do it so you learn. Okay, so we get the point. Boom. Click it back in again. Now you have it all selected. So as you can see, that this is quite a long, especially with something like this here, it's quite a long-winded way of editing. But while you have that selected as well, you can actually add to it. So if you only had a few sections in, what you can do is, where you see here, outside, that's going to be a new selection. When inside, see where there's a box? So I can actually move it if I want, once you're selecting in it. Undo that. But if you hold shift, you can actually add to it. So you can go here and then just click your points in. Let's just do this really quickly. Okay, normally would add it in, but actually that whole section has actually been selected, so I need to alt click to minus it. Whoops. So we'll just do minus. But that showed you can actually have it. So you can have that there, and say you wanted to add another section, you could go from here, and say there's another finger, so there's another finger to the person's hand. Come in, there you go. So there's an extra section. So you can add and subtract all you like, and then again you can just come in here and then you have your selections, but you're just gonna have to refine it, go through all them sections. That's why I much prefer the quick selection tool, because it's by its name. If it works great. Otherwise you have to use it this method, or the next method that you can use is the pen tool. So P for pen, you go over here and you get pen over there, just get the first one. And how this works is, where the polygonal tool, you click and it's a line, and you click and a line, and the more you move slowly and short increments, you can get a curve. A lot of other people prefer the pen tool. So we go to pen, because you can just go 1 point, and then when you click the next one, hold and drag, and there you have your curves. So then you can really have some intricate shapes going. Go to get there, then you have another curve there, another curve here, and you can get really cool shapes. Then come to the end, wacky, just go wacky races here at the minute, and then come to the end, and then you have your options up here: selection, mask, or shape. I always go either selection or shape. I never really go mask, but I'll go selection. And then that has it as a selection on it. I wonder, with mask, would that make it a vector mask? It does. So the thing about a vector mask is it has made a mask on your layer, but once you have the pen tool selected, if you select that one, so now you can actually edit the points on the selection through your pen tool. So if you made a bit of a mess, you can add in extra points, and you can change directions and stuff. So I know a few designers who live by this way of editing with masks. I never got the hang around it. I never got the hang of the pen tool, so I'm not the biggest fan. So I'll show you really quickly, but don't judge me, because I'm not very good at the pen tool. So if I was, I'm going to start at the head, because that looks like one of the easier places to start for someone like me. I'm quite a novice at it, 10 years designing, and I still don't like using the pen tool, especially in Photoshop. I don't like it at all. If I was using it, I'd much prefer using it in Illustrator. It seems a bit better, but you just drag a little bit there, and then just a little bit, and it's kind of like, anytime I watch friends of mine doing it, they just keep dragging the mouse when they're clicking. See, I want it perfect, but they just kind of drag as they're moving along, and it kind of just works for them. Again, like the polygonal lasso tool, you're going to be making quite a few selection points. Like, you wouldn't be going around. You could go all the way around here and then shape the dome, but I wouldn't suggest that. Oh, it's probably, now that I say that, it's probably going to be actually pretty good. And that did come out pretty good, didn't it? Maybe I should actually learn how to use this, but what's that to say about old dogs and new tricks and all that? Now, the only thing is, if I went on to the next point down here, because that line is so massive, watch what happens. Now, you see there, though? My selection goes all the way down here and then hooks back around again. What you do there is, I'm going to undo that. While you have that selected, is you hold Alt. No. What you do is you hold Alt and you click this, and it gets rid of that point, and then you start a new one, and then you can do your curves. That's pretty cool. And then we go in there, and then curve way inside, and then Alt click that again, and then come here, and again just dragging. Okay, so then back over here to the start. Where did I start? Okay, we went way down in the shoulders. There, boom. Now, before I finish, this was a bit dodgy, so I might just actually zoom in there and add a point, and then just control click to make sure I'm only grabbing that, and then just move it in a little bit. Yeah, it looks a bit better. Yeah, so if I wanted to have that selection, I can go and say vector mask, and I make it into a vector mask. Now, the thing is, with vector mask, you cannot use brushes with them. So as you can see, you cannot use brushes with these. So you can paint in them. So you can see I'm actually just literally painting black into the vector mask, but I'm not using it as a mask. So if you want to use brushes with your mask, what you would need to do is go back to the pen tool, is make this into a selection. Yeah. Now the whole thing is a selection, and now the whole thing is is a normal mask. You won't be able to readjust this as you were before. I do apologize. One of my neighbours' houses alarm is going off, so if you hear that in the background, I'll try and get rid of it with noise reduction, and if not, you will hear it. So if you don't hear a house alarm, it's because I was able to get rid of it with noise reduction. If not, you will hear it. So I do apologize. The next method I found is the quick way of doing luminosity masks, and that is if you come up to select and color range, and then go into, we're going to go highlights, and there we go. Look at that, boom, highlights, and we are going to. So what we're doing here is we're just changing the range. So whatever's black is being excluded. So we flip that, then whatever's white is now being, So for the time being, I'm just going to go leave it black. So I want to see the sky. So these highlights here, I want them gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to. So the range is the threshold. So that's how bright the pixel has to be for it to be included or excluded. The fuzziness is kind of the blurring between pixels. So you can really see it if you look at the clouds. If I bring in none, you see how harsh it is. And then if I bring the fuzziness up, and that's, that can really define it. So for this here, just for the statue, I'm just focused on the statue. If I go here, bring the fuzziness down, and then bring that up. About there, yeah, and now invert it so everything else is gone. Hit OK. There's my selection. Make a mask, and look at that. Through luminosity masks, we have selected that. Now, again, it looks like a dog's dinner, but we can refine it still. Again, we can go back in with the brush, hit X on that, make that nice and big, 100%, and get rid of that section there. And do whatever we need to do thereafter. But there are your options for. But this is a really quick way of doing things, and you can always go back and say you wanted to get some highlights here. You could go back in and go into select color range, and now this time we want to go into midtones. And yeah, now the only thing is that it's looking at the mask there. So what you need to do first of all is, even though you have the mask in, is to shift click the mask to deactivate it, go back up to select, and now you're selecting the whole layer. So you see now we're actually selecting the whole layer, going to midtones, and let's just change this a little bit more and be a bit more inclusive. Yeah, something like that. Okay, Control H to hide the marching ants because they're distracting. Just click the layer mask to reactivate it, and then on your brush, X to turn it to white, and we'll go 40%, and we'll bring it back in here with the midtones. You can see then the midtones is bringing it in. So there you have it, my top 4 selection methods in Photoshop. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something from it. Don't forget to check out my Instagram and all the other social medias that I have going on. And if you like this video, maybe hit the like button, subscribe to my channel to see more. I would say ring the bell, but I don't know if there's any point in it. Everyone else says it, so ring that bell. And until the next time, later gators.